Dennis Rodman is one of the most controversial NBA players of all time. Whether it's his outspoken fashion sense, his crazy haircuts, or even his friendship with North Korean leaders, one thing can't be disputed: his impact on the basketball court. The Hall of Famer won 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards and led the league in rebounding for 7 straight seasons, a feat that has never been matched. He had 167 games where he grabbed over 20 rebounds and leads the league in every conceivable statistic for both offensive and defensive rebound percentage. The man known as the Worm even led the league in rebounds in a season where he was 36 years old. He's widely regarded as the greatest rebounder of all time, but how did he clean the glass so effectively? I'm Mo, you're watching Hoop Genius, and hit that subscribe button because I'm about to share with you Dennis Rodman's 6 secrets to rebounding. Rodman played during an era of the NBA where big men dominated, but he wasn't as big as his rebounding figures might suggest. The Worm stands at just 6'6", the same height as his shooting guard teammate Michael Jordan, but he would routinely be tasked with guarding some of the toughest giants the league has ever seen. So how did he battle amongst all those giants to grab the boards? His first key to rebounding is the most important, and it can be applied at any level: effort. When Rodman himself was asked about where his rebounding success comes from, he said it comes from a simple want to. I work my ass off, that's all. People ask how you dig a 50-foot hole, you dig. How do I get offensive rebounds? I go get the damn ball. Rodman's work rate was insane. With the Detroit Pistons, Isaiah Thomas was notorious for getting onto his teammates if he felt that they weren't working hard enough. But when Rodman joined the squad, he found himself getting onto Isaiah, telling him when he was slacking off. One of my old coaches once told me that rebounding is an effort play. The player that wants the ball more usually is the one that ends up with it. This philosophy can be applied at all levels. So whether you're in the park with your friends or whether you're playing against pros on the court, make sure that you want the rebound more than all of the opposition, because it's the one area of basketball where you can make an impact regardless of your skill level. So if you're a young player and you want to work on your rebound, the first key from Dennis Rodman is to get your mind right. Effort alone isn't going to win you 7 rebounding titles though, so the second key from Dennis Rodman's rebounding is preparation. In the Last Dance documentary, Dennis Rodman spoke about how he used to spend hours studying tape of opposition players to see where the ball would end up bouncing so he could go and collect the rebound, and his Detroit Pistons teammate Isaiah Thomas even spoke about this too. We were standing in the layup line, warming up and shooting, and Rodman was standing back and watching everybody shoot. I said, "Hey, come on, you have to participate. Everyone's shooting layups, you have to shoot layups too." He said, "I'm just watching the rotations on the basketball." I said, "Excuse me?" He said, "Like when you shoot, the ball spins 3 times in the air. Joe sometimes has 3.5 or 4 times. And that's how far Dennis Rodman had taken rebounding, to a totally different level, like off the charts. He knew the rotation of every person's shot on our team, if it spins sideways, where it would bounce, how often it would bounce left or right. He had got rebounding down to a science, and I never heard anyone think or talk about rebounding and defense the same way he could break it down. When you talk about basketball IQ, I'd put Rodman at genius level. Every basketball player knows that at any level, if the shot is long, it will most likely come off the rim long, and if the shot is close, it will come off short. Shots with a flat arc tend to rebound long, and shots with a high arc tend to give you a short rebound, or even bounce around the rim until they go in. Just ask Kawhi Leonard.
Defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger?
The distance from the hoop plays a big factor of where the ball ends up too, because professional shooters know that a higher arc on their shot will give them a higher chance of them scoring it. There are less long rebounds in the NBA. Roughly 70 to 80% of all NBA rebounds happen within 8 feet of the hoop. 3-pointers tend to rebound around 8 foot from the hoop. Corner threes, being closer to the bucket than the rest of the arc, rebound out at around 7 feet from the hoop. Mid-range shots around 6 feet from the hoop, and attempts in the paint within 5 feet from the hoop. The direction of the shot also plays a huge factor. As a general rule, the shot is most likely to end up on the weak side. That is the side where the ball wasn't shot from. Shots from the left typically get rebounded on the right hand side of the bucket, and shots from the right typically rebound on the left hand side. This can be explained by basic science. The ball tends to go to the opposite side of the bucket for rebounds because of Newton's first law of physics. An object in motion continues in motion unless acted on by a force. That means a shot will continue in the direction that is shot unless acted on by an excessive force, like hitting the rim. So in order for the ball to bounce back to the direction in which it came from, it has to hit the rim with a straight on collision. So unless the shot is looking like it's going to fall short, or it's got a very flat arc, you're best off getting to the opposite side to grab the rebound. Now obviously there are exceptions and there are air balls as well, but Bulls trainers have said that Rodman would spend hours upon hours watching the top shooters from the opposing team to see where the ball went on a rebound, whether it was going to be long or short, if there was a particular spin on their shots that made it go to the left or the right. Rodman was obsessed with studying his opponents. His compulsive preparation for rebounding led him to become obsessed with collecting the ball. Depending on the tape that he'd studied, Rodman would alter his timing for going after rebounds. He didn't try to be part of the normal flow of the offense. He would always try and get rebounding position as soon as the ball pretty much crossed the halfway line. He didn't work on posting up to get a shot, he works on getting rebounding position. Now even the best rebounders in the world typically judge a rebound when the ball is at the apex of its shot. But Dennis Rodman knew where the ball was going the moment it left the shooter's hand, so he would always be one step ahead of his opponents. So if you're a young player that's trying to work on their rebounding, Dennis Rodman's tip number 2 is to get yourself into the film room. Now it's all well and good knowing where the ball is going to bounce to, but you still have to get there, and that brings us to the third key to Dennis Rodman's rebounding: athleticism. When Dennis Rodman first came to the league, the Pistons coaching staff nicknamed him world class. Pistons assistant coach Dick Versace said that if he ran the 440, he would be world class. The guy can run all day on his toes like a sprinter. Phil Jackson even called him the greatest athlete he's ever coached, and this is a man that's coached Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, and a load of other stars. Stamina, quickness, timing, agility, plus an insane work rate. Rodman really had it all. It's been well documented that Rodman was actually so fast that the US Olympic team pretty much begged him to run the 400 meters for them. They said that if he ran it, he would not only win the gold medal, but probably break the world record as well. Now I know Michael Jordan has the nickname Air Jordan, but watching Rodman, his strides as he was running down the court were so long and so high that it almost looked as if he was running on the air. His legs are proportionately bigger than his upper body, unlike most players, so he didn't look like a human when he ran. He was like a gazelle. If you watch any Bad Boy Pistons game, you'll notice that the way he ran was different. He ran down the court almost as if he was bouncing on a pogo stick. His superior athleticism also meant that he could get 2 or 3 jumps in the same time that other players would only get 1. So if you're a young player trying to work on your rebounding, Dennis Rodman's third tip is to hit that cardio and work on your conditioning. The ability to spring up and make those second and third repetitive jumps quicker than anyone else led him to have the ability to perfectly execute his fourth secret to rebounding, what I like to call volleyball. Because he wasn't as tall as the other players that were going up for rebounds, Rodman had to figure out a way to get loose and get the ball away from them when they were rising up in the air to try and catch it themselves. Early on in his career with the Detroit Pistons, he picked up a technique from tenacious big man Bill Laimbeer that he continued to use for the rest of his career. He used to tap the ball in the air almost as if he was playing volleyball until he had separated himself from the opponents and could grab the ball safely. As he would tap it up in the air over and over again, he would use those quick second and third jumps to go and collect it while the opposition players were still landing from their first jump and trying to spring in the air again. So if you're an undersized player trying to get more rebounds, add this technique to your bag and see if it can help you. Volleyball isn't the only other sport that Dennis Rodman incorporated into his rebounding techniques. Key number 5 is what I call Judo. The traditional theory that almost every basketball coach will teach you is the box out. That is usually the #1 best way to secure a rebound. This is where when a shot goes up, you put your body in between the opponent and the bucket and drive them backwards. This isn't what Dennis Rodman did, however. Being 6'6" and only 220 pounds, he felt that if he did that, bigger players like Shaquille O'Neal would simply just reach over his head and be able to grab the board. So instead, he tried to apply judo techniques to basketball. In his book, he said that he would interlock his arms and legs with opponents until he knew for sure where the ball was going, and then he would unlock himself faster than they could and go and collect the ball. The first player to get untangled would be the first one who could go and get the rebound, and with his quickness and agility, it was always Rodman. He said it was like wrestling, but without the takedowns. Now obviously, if you get caught doing this by the referee, it's a foul, but when shots are going up, referees are usually looking at the player shooting the ball to see if any fouls occurred there, so you could be sneaky and try to get away with it.
Disclaimer, we do not encourage or condone any foul play that could result in an injury to yourself or your opponent. Please bear in mind that basketball in the 80s and 90s was extremely different to the game played today.
Effort, preparation, athleticism, volleyball, judo, they all combine and lead in to the 6th and final key, and that's what I call mind games. Dennis Rodman would spend the entire game getting physical with opponents, locking up their arms and their legs, hitting them with hard fouls, stealing rebounds away from them, irritating them to the point that they would be more focused on him than they would on the game itself. In his book, he went on to say, "Now the guy was more interested in whipping my ass than getting the rebound. Next thing he knew, I'd be sweeping the boards and firing an outlet pass to Ron Harper." Dennis was a ferocious defender and would always gain a psychological edge over his opponent. He was given the nickname the Worm because when he stuck to an opponent, you could not get rid of him. Dennis was known for his boundless energy, so that ability to never get tired, whilst coupled with the enthusiasm for sticking to the guy who was guarding him all night, was a real headache for the opposition. So if you want to become an elite rebounder, you must become an elite defender first, because you need to get to the point where the guy you're guarding is more worried about you than they are about what's happening in the game, so that every time that a shot goes up, they're not looking at the shooter, they're not looking at the flight of the ball, they're not looking at where it's going to land, they're focused on you because they're worried about you locking them up and grabbing that board for yourself. Those are Dennis Rodman's 6 secrets to rebounding. Implement them into your game and watch the box score fill up as you grab all of those rebounds. Let us know in the comments down below, how many rebounds do you think Dennis Rodman would average if he played in the NBA today? Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button and the bell as well so you get a notification every time we drop a video. Hit the thumbs up, hit the like button if you feel like you've learned something, and please share this video with your friends so that they can improve their rebounding. And if the whole squad gets on their rebound game like Dennis Rodman, well, then you're going to generate more and more possessions for your team and you're going to win more and more games. Make sure that you guys stay working hard, stay safe, and most importantly, get buckets.